Hi, Faizan Sabzali here again,
Rahim Dawood.
and we're from Enclave Digital Ecosystems. In the last video, we had started the conversation around trust and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pick up on that because one of the things that the reason we kind of came together this time in this incarnation is because we're trying to create a little bit of a different organization, even in our perspective from a technology. Yes, managed services and professional services, all those things. I mean, revenue is going to come from where revenue is going to come from. But what we've kind of missed out on before, or we didn't have the control of, was building and providing this kind of value to our different organizations. So for me, coming here, really what drew me to the organization and kind of the mission was education, right? And so these videos are part of that series for me, is kind of delivering that kind of the education. So can you, Rahim, can you talk about your experience, of course, in the industry and what's been missing and what do you mean by trust and confidence, right? When we're talking about services, because organizations we've been part of have delivered great services.
Yes.
Right? And I don't think we're discounting that. We're not discounting our life's work either.
Yes.
But what's missing, and what I kind of go into a little bit of detail on that.
Yeah, sorry I started chuckling as you were talking there because I have very strong opinions about where our industry
Rahim
is.
does share some strong opinions, so you might want to turn it off if you don't want to hear some of this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, children, you probably want to get your children off at this point because who knows what I might end up saying. But, trust, I think fundamentally, right? It's about shared values, right? In my mind, at least. It's about transparency. It's about humility. It's about basically a whole lot of things that we talk about. We put them up on our walls. We call them our values, but it's about living them, right? And, trust doesn't specifically mean, the highest level of integrity or the highest level of honesty, because it's impossible for us to live up to those kind of absolute definitions of trust and confidence. And we often look for those. And then we get disappointed when we don't find them, because the mechanisms that we have around us are built by humans just like ourselves. But at the minimum, right, a trustworthy environment is one where what it is that you've committed to is open, transparent, it's out there, and you live by it. And so, for example, we've taken on this, mission of building a future state where we are advocating for cybersecurity. So, and augmented intelligence. And our definition of augmented intelligence in the current avatar, as we're kind of evolving with this, is that we are going to help develop systems that are going to make humans better at what they do, rather than this current sort of iteration of, we're going to create computers that are going to be as smart as humans. That's easy. That's very easy to do, right? It's more difficult to get humans to kind of extract from those smart computers what it is that they need to be better themselves. So this current iteration is out there. We've kind of committed to it. There are many opportunities that come our way that sort of circumvent that or come in the way of that mission. And trust for us is basically staying true to that. It's basically rejecting all of these other notions that are very comfortable for us. It's sort of that comfort zone that we've come from, where we'll go and do those one and dones, and we'll go and kind of sell on value. But then the definition of value itself is what makes me the most amount of margin, and what gets you the highest level of kudos in your organization. I mean, that is trust as well, but it's a different kind of trust that transacts between people. That's not the business we want to be in. Mm-hmm. And so when we say trust, when we use the word trust, we're basically talking about what it is that we've committed to, how true we're staying to that commitment, and then having the humility in ourselves and as human beings to know that this is not necessarily going to be exactly the way things are going to be as we evolve through this journey. Right. So taking people along this journey with us and building that relationship of trust and confidence along with us, taking responsibility for where we kind of make mistakes, learning from it together and growing with it, and putting the right kind of cultural elements into all of this, where we're truly invested. If we're going to talk about making a human better at what they do, we need to invest in that human. And so where's that trust? What are we going to do to build that trust so that that human being allows us to become a part of them, so that we can help them then do better with what they have.
Yeah.
It's complicated. It's kind of
Yeah, I mean, it's right now.
hairy ball right now.
Unfortunately, it's
Right?
a little bit of a theory, right?
Yes.
And in practice, so my question to you is, right, like as practitioners, let's say, I mean, we can build trust and whatnot. What do we need from the other side, right? Because on the other side is the organization that's hiring us, that's bringing us in, right?
Yes.
And we've seen there are things that are missing there as well, right?
Yes.
There is this, the vision is missing sometimes.
Yes.
So how, I mean, maybe it's something that we have to help them develop as well. But as an organization, what should they be bringing to the table to get the best value? Like, what should they be asking the consultants, right, to get the best value for their people?
It again, I mean, you're asking me very difficult questions.
Yeah.
Here.
That's what I'm good at. So
Yeah, exactly. No, because it's very easy for me to answer from the point of view of the opinions that I have.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm
these
trying
are-
to avoid kind of
Yeah.
going down that path of the opinions I have, which will be harsh and will be kind of very unrealistic to achieve in this world. But reciprocity is important. So yes, there has to be sort of, it's a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to invest in learning about the organization's businesses, nuances, idiosyncrasies, the organization again has to reciprocate in terms of providing that information, right? Well, a good example I have is from when I visited a client at the end of last year that ultimately signed with us for managed services, where there was a situation with some breakdowns in equipment that I felt in the initial analysis that I was doing was most likely causing them to lose business. And the challenge back from the business without any evidence was, our customers are loyal, they just keep coming back. Right? And we've talked about that use case in depth, and we actually used the data that they already had from their booking systems to prove that that was not true. Those customers that were sent off as a result of booking that appointment, coming in, being disappointed at the fact that that equipment wasn't functional, in the booking system, those customers have disappeared. It's been months now, they've not rebooked. So this theory in your head that your customers are loyal and they're coming back to you is actually wrong. And it's not me telling you this. It's your own data telling you this.
Yeah.
You own the data. You're using this as a booking system, but you're limiting the use of it to that. If you extended the use of it to just give you some analysis and insights on who's booking, who's not booking, who has stopped booking, suddenly you start seeing your business in a very different way. And kind of going to that conversation took a bit of trust building, saying, look, this is not about me. This is not about me challenging you and you challenging me on this little thing that we're talking about, that's customer loyalty.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's not argue about customer loyalty. Let's kind of build on this hypothesis where I'm coming from a point of view that's saying there is a potential that as a result of all this mismanagement going on, that you're actually leaking or losing customers. And you're coming from the point of view that says, no, we're not, because I am confident about the loyalty for my customers. I am not coming from this theory from an empirical point of view, neither are you. So let's agree on something that will help us both, educate ourselves. And it turns out 9 times out of 10, the data is already there. It's in our face. It's how we use the data that helps us then get to that same level.
I think it's an interesting example as well, right? Because we're focused as an organization, we're focused on small businesses,
Yes.
right? And making sure that they have access to the skill sets and whatnot from that perspective. So it's an interesting example because also, right, in that situation, because of the analysis that could be done, the trust that was built, I think they were looking at a $500,000 investment capital expenditure, right, to resolve some of the issues, which were resolved with some consulting time plus a simple $2,000 fix, right, based on the analysis that could be done.
Yeah.
And partly, again, you had to work on building that trust to get to that point. Otherwise, like, yeah, sure, you can go ahead and invest that, that large expense. At some point they may need to,
Yes.
but today that wasn't necessary to resolve the immediate problems. And I think that's a great example of, again, once we can build that trust, once we can have those conversations, and they're willing to. I think that's the other thing, is the willingness to have those conversations.
Yes.
Willingness to say, okay, let me look at the actual data.
Yes.
Yes, I know. I feel like I feel like I'm in the greatest health of my life. But let me look at the data, and it proves me totally on the opposite spectrum, right? But I think that that reality check sometimes does help.
Yes.
Right? So
yeah, and coming back to that example in closing, the problem wasn't the fact that technology was breaking down, causing people to leave, right? The problem was the fact that the business was unaware of that problem.
Yeah.
Right? As complicated as that sounds. So, when we say analysis, there's a lot of people are like, oh, it's a big word, right? It's not. I mean, analysis is simply just basically saying, wait a minute, what is it exactly that we're struggling with here?
Right.
What is the frustration? And yes, on the surface, the frustration that was expressed was this damn piece of equipment keeps breaking down on us. We just want to replace it with something new, right? And from a technical standpoint, all the propeller heads looking at this are going, there's nothing wrong with the equipment, right? Turns out there were some gremlins that finally got resolved and the equipment got back online, but that was a small drop in the ocean. The problem was that the business didn't actually realize the business problem itself. Right? And that's where I think that trust needs to be established.
Right.
Is once you're talking at that level and you're understanding each other at that level, once the ownership of that, organization basically got on the same page, saying, whoa, wait a minute, what do you mean none of those customers ever booked with us again? Now suddenly they were able to frame that business problem in their own mind because it challenged their own perceptions about their business. Right?
Yeah.
And so now you're having a different kind of a conversation. And it just took a simple sort of, let's take a step back and let's just ask different questions.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think sometimes the technology problems that may be occurring in an organization is just the opportunity that's needed to actually do some of those deep analysis to say, let me take this opportunity to see actual impact that it's having. But sometimes it's like, oh yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but it is, right? Like it could be a big deal, and we've seen it, I guess, in other organizations where those deals could be, it's actually impacting productivity. It's impacting your employees' retention, right? All of those things that actually happen, like the problems that occur because of a simple technology problem that you're like, I can just ignore this for now, but it actually creates these ripple effects.
Well, since we're on this customer here, I just got a text message from them this morning. So the history behind this is when I was last with them, I talked about the merits of teams and kind of collaboration. They have 2 locations and all of that. And the response was lukewarm back, saying, yeah, we don't need this. We're a very, touchy-feely kind of an organization, and I can just walk up. One of the principles, I can just walk up to anybody I need to and have a conversation. Email is just fine. This morning I get a text from the same principal going, is there a way, so we've completely forgotten that conversation we had months ago. There's a text message saying, is there a way we can just chat with each other without having to go look for a person in the building, right? Now, the old us would automatically go, oh yes, absolutely, Microsoft Teams, sign here, we'll get it deployed, right? The new user is gonna go, what's changed your mind?
Right. Like what's changed in the business?
We actually had this conversation, so you didn't understand what we were talking about back then.
Right.
So I need to dig into that. Why is it that you didn't understand what it is that I was trying to say to you? So that helps me get better at what I do. And now 3 months later, it's been about 3 months since that conversation, suddenly you're coming to me with this business problem. So let me get into the guts of this business problem. Why is it suddenly you feel like you have a need to have a chat facility in the organization?
And for those of us that are actually in our position, right? We have to know that business changes, right?
Correct.
Like in those 3 months, their business could have changed.
Correct.
We've been providing services to them, but we haven't actually kept tab of everything that's changed. The different type of people that are coming on, plus, right, like they may be looking at expansion, all those things that happen. You're like, but if you just be like, well, yeah, okay, here's a technology, or I told you this 3 months ago, why did you? Things change and their priorities change as well, right?
Absolutely.
And the impact changes. So I think it's actually an important lesson for all of us that are in that position to say, okay, what's actually changed? One, yes, I could have done a better job of communicating this, so you would have been aware when things change. But what's actually changed in this time frame?
Right.
We assume a lot. we assume way too much with technology and business, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. So, okay, so we'll end the conversation there. But again, I hope everyone's enjoying these videos. I know some of them may be long, but these are conversations that I think are important for us to have, because these are conversations that you and I actually have.
Yes.
We schedule time in our calendar to have these conversations,
Yes.
and want to share this, some of the content, some of our thought process. And again, a lot of this is our own opinion. These are not set in stone. So please comment, please share your experiences with us.
Absolutely.
Right. So until next time, I'm Faizan and
Rahim,
Enclave Digital Ecosystems. Thank you.
cheers.